gosh, I don't even know what to say. The dog sat on the sofa and his ears have perked up and he's looking for the person who's suddenly come into the house and who I'm talking to. And no, Charlie, I'm talking to myself. This is a little bit awkward, isn't it? I know, Charlie, it's awkward. Welcome to episode 1 of the Cat Crafty Knits Podcast. Podcasters do that thing, don't they, where they introduce the mug of the episode. Well, in this massive mug I have my coffee, which is what we always drink. Almost always. We do drink tea too. It's just coffee's the best, right? Yeah. Jackie of the Woolly Badger will completely disagree with me there and say tea is absolutely for the win, but yeah, probably lean coffee. This is my massive mug from Kate Ceramics. I'm not going to introduce my mug every time I do this, if I do this again, simply because I use the same mug every single time, so it's not going to be a surprise when you see this one over and over and over again. Me and my husband used to have matching Emma Bridgewater mugs, the pint-sized ones, because we just need pints of coffee. 2 children, pints of coffee. On that note, my little boy had me up overnight, so I don't even know why I've chosen to do this today. But here we are. So yeah, we used to have these matching Emma Bridgewater mugs, which had our names like really big on the front. And if you follow me on Instagram, you've probably seen my mug in a fair few of my posts in the past. Because we use the same mugs over and over again all of the time, they get quite a lot of use. They were great for a long time, and then all of a sudden both of our mugs got loads and loads of chips in all at the same time. So we've recently replaced them. We now don't have massive names, but we have, I don't know if you can see in the picture, I don't want to tip it because it's quite full there. We have rims that are different colours. So mine's kind of like a pinky purple and his is a blue. And we have our names just on the inside now, rather than massive on the outside. Anyway, that was the first of a million probably tangents we're going to have today. If you've ever read any of my blogs before, you'll know that first and foremost I ramble in whatever I say. I don't know, I just kind of think, and then I think and write exactly what I'm thinking, rather than go, this is what I'm thinking, how can I take this thought from 20 or 30 or 40 words and just make it like 1 or 2 sentences. I kind of write and talk like I talk. I'm such an idiot. Anyway, shall we talk? Well, first of all, let's just say I've got a lot to talk about. This is probably... The dog keeps whining. He doesn't understand. So yeah, anyway, let's cut that bit. And anyway, let's talk about episode 1. Welcome to episode 1. Thank you for watching. I have in my head before recording this said I should name this podcast The One and Only, or The One and Maybe Only. Who knows if I'm going to do this again. I think I'm really bad at it. We'll find out. So yeah, I've got quite a bit to talk about. First of all will be quite a long list of finished objects. I say a long list because I'm going to share a few things, but mainly because from when I first had the idea to record this several weeks ago, those first things that were finished objects then are still on my list to want to talk about now, even though I've now knit more things and finished more things and got more things going on. So yeah, bit of a bumper episode there. I will never have this many finished objects in one episode again, if I do it again. I then have a couple of whips, a design whip, and a couple of just my, following other people's patterns whips. And then, I even have a crochet whip. Then my thought after that for this podcast, I don't really know what my full setup every time is going to be yet, if there is one, but I used to watch Caroline of Dunderknits podcast, and she used to do this really good segment towards the end of her episodes where she'd talk about patterns that she'd seen, patterns she likes, things that she'd like to use, or like do in the future. So yeah, I might do a little bit of that because there's a few patterns around that I really, really like, and hopefully will knit in the future. I say that because my to knit pile or list of things is way longer. I would say way bigger than my stash, but actually, let's be honest, we know that's not true. Yeah, it's a long list, and although I don't work on the same thing, like I'm not a completely monogamous knitter, I have a few projects that I work on in chunks, usually. So, and particularly because design takes up so much time, and I like designing. Even though I don't so many patterns I like designing, I usually focus on those. So my progress with other patterns written by other people, is often slow. So yeah, who knows if I will ever get to knit all of these patterns that I potentially will show here that I love. So we'll see. Anyway, let me put this coffee down because it's actually really warm. I can't drink it all yet, which probably means that I'll drink it now cold at the end. But yeah, let's move on to finished objects. I've just suddenly noticed that, aren't I an excellent knitting podcaster? Do you love my hand knit? Why did I think I'd wear just a normal hoodie for my first knitting podcast? I also have a hole in my trousers, which has been there for a long, long time. And I even pick up the kids on the school run, although the school was literally just over there. So it's not far. But I just love these trousers. They're literally just joggers. But I really like them, so I haven't got rid of them, even though they've got a massive hole in. I keep thinking that I should do that visible mending thing. And I've done it on socks. Like, I've done quite a few socks now because my husband goes through them in the rate of knots. But yeah, I just can't be bothered. I just keep wearing them anyway. I mean, I put a bra on for this episode. That's effort, right? It's effort. Anyway, whip number 1. So this is quite a special whip. This was knit from my own handspun. Look at this. I spun this. This is the Geillis. I think that's how you say it. Winged Geillis. I don't know. It is a lovely shawl pattern from Laura of the Lonely Knitter. And it has this really cool, just really scalloped edge. So you start here, you literally knit in garter stitch, creating these little spikes. And as you progress, it just gets wider. So yeah, mine kind of doesn't really look like Laura's did, or how the pattern was intended, because she knit hers in a 4-ply yarn, a sock yarn, and it was a 1 skein project. Well, mine, obviously, because it's handspun, and my first handspun, it's really quite chunky. And to begin with, I thought, oh my goodness, I won't need much. It's quite chunky, this yarn. I won't need much yarn. It will just knit up it like a breeze. Fantastic. Originally, it wasn't meant to have this here, so the bit in between where I've changed the colours. Oh, there you go, you can see it better there. And then into the lighter turquoise. This was all added because I ran out of yarn there. I had 200 grams of handspun to start with, which is easy an errand chunky weight yarn because I'm not a very good spinner, or certainly wasn't as good as I am now, which still isn't very good then. I ran out there, and that would have been a very small shawl. No, I don't think it really would have gone round. Anyway, so I then spun more and more and more. So I think in the end I started with 200 grams of fibre, and I think just over 400 went into it in the end. So yeah, quite a difference, but this is so snuggly. It's just so snuggly. I really like it. I don't know, I'm just really pleased with this. I'm so proud of myself. Look at it. Anyway, yeah, so that's that one. That's finished object number 1. Let's have some more coffee. This is actually seeming slightly better than I thought it would be. I thought I'd be one of the people that goes after like every word. It's kind of feeling okay. It's feeling okay at the moment. You are coming from, I should have probably done this bit at the beginning as well. I come to you from my house in Devon border. We're kind of on like mid-Devon, North Devon border, but we are technically North Devon home. We live in a cottage that's about 450 years old. It's one of the oldest houses in our village. And I like to call it a Devon longhouse, but technically it's probably not what you would really call a Devon longhouse. It's got the footprint of a very typical two up, two down cottage that you'd have got years and years and years ago. But 15 years ago, it was extended by the previous owners that way to basically almost double the footprint of the original cottage, but in one direction. So it has become a longhouse because like each room is the whole width of the house, but it goes that way quite a long way. So yeah, it's not a proper Devon longhouse because it's not an original Devon longhouse. It's an original cottage with a bit tacked on the end. Yeah, there you go, you've learned about my house. But the reason I bring this up is at the moment I come to you from my fireplace in my lounge, but being a old being an old cob cottage, we have quite thick walls and fairly small windows. And as you can see now from the window over there, there's lots of light coming in. It rains here a lot. Devon is very wet and we live on moorland or on the edge of moorland. Exmoor's not very far away at all from us, but where we live is also kind of classed as moorland, although it's not the actual moors, Dartmoor and Exmoor. We still kind of live on moorland and it is rainy and it is wet and it's quite often dark. So there isn't an awful lot of opportunity to always film in good lighting. So yeah, that's why I thought I'd talk to you about my house, is that I will probably pop up in different areas because I will be chasing the meagre amount of light that we get here. Or my excuse not to film will be, oh, it's too dark today. The other one being, oh, my husband's home today and I can't possibly film this in front of my husband because how embarrassing is that? Anyway, shall we move on to whip number 2? Finished object number 2. So, finished object number 2 is my over the ocean socks. How cute are they? See all those cables. Cables. Texture. There we go. So these, they're a little bit screwed up because I'm going to be really honest and I store my socks like this. How awful am I? Yeah, so these are my over the ocean socks. These are one of my patterns and they are the third pattern. I guess they're actually the second pattern because they're the second release, although I would class them as the third. Yes, these are one of the patterns in my over the ocean collection. Those tiny little slip stitches that create the all over patterning, which I've run all the way down the heel flap. I'm not showing that very well. You can kind of see there, can't you? And it's just really cool for hand-dyed yarns. The idea with these socks is when I was creating the jumper pattern, which I'll talk about in a minute, the idea was to really be able to, I really love hand-dyed yarns and variegated yarns, speckled yarns, everything kind of all hand-dyed really. And I really wanted to create a pattern that would really kind of show off the specks and like little snippets of different colours that you got often in hand-dyed. And that was the idea with these. And the reason that I decided that this collection needed a sock pattern was because how many people have that one skein of sock yarn in their stash that they really, really love and just don't quite know what to do with? I have quite a few. And I think this is a really nice pattern to really just show off those really unique aspects that you have, or unique qualities that you get with hand-dyed yarn. So yeah, they're really cool. So that's them. I say these are a finished object. These are one of the finished objects that were finished several weeks ago. Actually, if you know me or have followed me at all, you know that I've already released this pattern. I released this pattern on the 1st of this month. And actually it did pretty well. I was quite pleased with how well it did, because quite often, and certainly at the moment, I think a lot of designers and just indie people in general in our community are quite struggling with exposure and sales at the moment. And I mean, I'm still talking small amounts because I only sell small amounts of patterns. But I was kind of pleased with the reception these had. Thank you guys. So yeah. Next, shall we move on to the jumper version of this pattern series? The first pattern in this series was the Over the Ocean kids pattern, and quite a few of you, if you have followed me on social media, will know of this pattern because I've banged on about it for probably years. It's taken quite a long time to produce. I first started this pattern soon after the release of the Garter Squish patterns, which were my kind of debut into this crazy design journey. I was still quite a novice. I'm not going to go into loads of detail about it because I've actually got a blog on this on my website if you want to read it. But long story short, the kids pattern was released in Knit Now magazine, and it went out with a narrator because there was a couple of mistakes in the pattern. It was a rush. I have learned an awful lot about designing since, but as a result of that, when I got the rights back, I avoided this pattern for a long time because I didn't want to deal with it, because I was a bit scared of it. But finally, last year, I got my head back into the game for this pattern and decided that it was time to rework it and come up with the self-release version. That pattern is quite a bit different than the original version that was shown, which was published, but the actual jumper itself looks very, very similar. I don't have the kids version sample of this pattern because it was knit for my nephew, who, last May I finished it, and we modelled and shot the photos last May. So it's one, not going to fit him anymore, but two, it was gifted to him, so it wasn't for my boy, so I don't have it. But yeah, let me show you the magazine to begin with. There it is. Look, my face in a magazine. I mean, my face. So yes, that was a thing. And that pattern was released last month. And I've always said with this pattern that I wanted to have an adult version too. So let's finally talk about the actual finished object, shall we? Here it is. There we go. Look at that raglan detail. Look at my short rows in the front. Look at the short rows. Can you tell they're short rows? It's all in pattern. I'm so pleased with myself. Am I allowed to say I'm pleased with myself? I'm really pleased with myself. So yeah, how wonderful is this? I'm not going to put it on now, and I'm not going to kind of model it now. I've got some footage that I will put in either here or over the top, or yeah, you know what I mean. I'll stick it in. The yarn for this, first of all, let's talk about the yarn for this because it's so lovely, was specially hand dyed for this project by a lovely friend of mine, Pamela from Otter and Pappoose Yarns. She is a dyer based in Bristol, and it's just really good. Like, her yarns are so stunning. You should really go check her out if you haven't heard of her already, because she's absolutely lovely. She's a lovely person and she dyes lovely yarns, so you can't go wrong, can you? When this yarn was developed, we put like joint posts on Instagram and stories, and actually you guys named it, or rather Instagram named it, should I say. So the yarn is called Siren Song. And just look at it. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say because I've banged on about this pattern on various forms so much that I'm happy it's finished. My main goal for both these patterns, both the kids and the adults over the ocean jumpers, was to have this all over texture from a top down knit in the round knit that was uninterrupted by the short rows at the top. One of my massive hates is patterns that have short row shaping for the neck, which I think is really important because it gives you such a better fit with a top down knit, but then has a break at the back of the neck where the short rows have been like stuck in. And I've seen some quite clever ways to get around this where like the short rows have been worked into the rib at the top to make it less noticeable and things like that, but I was quite adamant with this that I wanted it to feel like there was no interruption. I really think I've achieved that. Like, you have no idea how many yokes, how many short row necklines I have knit in this pattern to get this to work. And it works. So yes, I'm really pleased. You've got your typical just straight tapered sleeve. Lots of twisted, oh look at those colours. Look at how that hand dyed really pops with that pattern. I'm so pleased with it. So yeah, my next journey with this pattern will be to write it up. It's in progress. I have definitely started, but I've been so busy recently I haven't managed to kind of sit down and just spend the time doing it that it needs. The raglan is a compound raglan, so you can kind of see the shaping there actually. So it's more here, then it is less in there, and then you have at the end a bit more of an increase. So the increases are kind of spaced throughout the yoke to make as good a fit as possible basically. And it's taken me quite a long time to kind of figure out how that's going to work, how to do that for all the sizes. I have graded this from, off the top of my head, I'll put on the screen or down below if I've got this wrong. I think it's between a 33 and a 66 inch bust. So yeah, it's over quite a large range, which meant that there's quite a lot to think about in terms of writing up the compound instructions and making it make sense for everyone. I've worked on with this kind of like a raglan increase, like kind of tracker or a map to make it as clear as possible for knitters to try and follow what they're doing in the patterns. I've seen them done in a couple of other patterns before and they work quite well. You should be able to kind of tick off which increases you've done and where for your size. So hopefully that will help people out. But yeah, because of the added complexities for the compound raglan, I have just taken my time a little bit more over the writing up of this. But hopefully, a couple of weeks' time, I'll be able to get this to my tech editor and yeah, hopefully progress it a little bit more soon. Shall we talk about another finished object? I'm going to have 3 design finished objects in a row. That doesn't happen that often either. So not only are they finished objects, but they're things that I've designed. That really doesn't happen that often. And anyway, it is my Speckle Pop Socks. Look at these. The Speckle Pop Socks. Can you see that? I don't know if you'll be able to see. There. There's a tiny, very, very subtle picot edge. You can see. Well, there you go. You can kind of see it against my jumper when I put it apart there. There you go. An eye partridge heel. And then this really cute dotty top. How cool is that? I'm really pleased with these. This pattern is just an adult only pattern. I forgot to say with the over the ocean socks, they are baby through till like large adult pattern, and that's because with the jumpers they range from a 6-month right through to the large adult size. What did I say about the 66-inch-ish chest? So there's a whole span of sizes for those, and I felt that it was only right that the socks did the same. Whereas this one, because they're just the shorty socks and they're quite lacy, they are lacy, these lended themselves better to just being an adult only pattern. So yeah, that's them. This again is Otter and Pappoose. I don't always knit with her yarns, I do knit with others. I forgot to say the over the ocean socks. Those are Advise and Design, the yarns I use for those, in her sock base. I don't think she's dyeing at the moment. Maybe, maybe not. I will double check. But yeah, Otter and Pappoose. This was her Dandilion sock set. Now I managed to knit these out of a sock set. So it was 100 gram main colour, but then a 20 gram mini for the contrast colour. I haven't recommended just having a 20 gram mini for your contrast colour in the pattern. And the reason for this is because I had like this much left. It was so tight. One of the features of this pattern is it's got a double cuff, and that one allows you to do the little subtle picot edge, but also just helps give the fabric a little bit more there for, like, I tend to find that knitted short socks slip down really easy, and my intention with the double cuff was just to try and give it a little bit more structure to stop that happening. I found it helps. So yeah, hopefully other people will find it helps too. And the other thing that I've done for this pattern is, as you can see, it's all joined really neatly. And I did that as I worked, it's not sewn after. So that I have a video tutorial on, which will come out with the pattern as well. In fact, actually it's already live on my channel, you can see it. But that's linked in the pattern to help knitters do that. So yeah, that's those. They are in testing at the moment, and my testers are fantastic. They've really cracked on really quickly. But I haven't decided on a release date for these yet. The reason for that being that soon it's my son's birthday, and then we go into Easter, and I'm away for a week of Easter. I also have work stuff that I need to kind of finish up before then. So yeah, it's a busy time, so I don't know if I'm going to get these released before all of that. It might just be slightly after that, but we'll see. Should we move on again? Finished object number 3? No, 4 is this one. This is my Constellation Headband, which once again is another one of my designs, but I can't really claim this as one of my designs because this is a design that I did for my work. I work for the startup knitting company Knit It. You've probably seen me post things about this before on social media, but Lucy's the owner of Knit It, and she has created a knitting app, basically a web app, which has smart patterns and is primarily aimed, well, I say primarily aimed, it's aimed both at the newbie knitter, so there's people wanting to learn to knit, and has some really great tools for helping people learn to knit, but it also is really good at kind of spelling out the more complex patterns. So actually it's kind of aimed at everyone really. This pattern is available on the Smart app, and yes, it's my Constellation Headband. So it's got like this cool little boho sort of tie at the back. I'll put it on, although I don't know that it really suits me like this. There you go. So yeah, I'm really pleased with that. And you may remember this isn't a finished object for today. This is like years ago, or a couple of years ago anyway. It's in the same yarns that my Quincy cow was made out of. So although they are not matching patterns, they still create a matching set. So yeah, that's the reason that I did this. It's one, because I really liked the pattern, but 2, because now I've got a matching set, because they actually don't take up, the headband doesn't actually take up that much yarn. I can't remember what I knit this one from, because it was just scrag ends of the ball from this one, or balls, but the original sample for Knit It was made out of about 50 grams of DK. So yeah, quite a little product there. We're doing okay, aren't we? I think we're doing okay. My coffee is now going to be cold. Oh. My camera's decided to start filming while I'm sat here cricking my neck because I got a bit of a headache. Yeah, we need to move on to whips, I think, don't we? Should we move on to whips? Let's move on to whips. Oh, right, sorry, I couldn't even choose what I was going to talk about next. So, my first whip I've got to show you here, which is a whip currently, but I might frog it. The reason I want to frog it is not because I don't like the pattern, because I actually do quite like the pattern. It's just that I've seen one that I kind of like more. So this is my, I can't even remember the name of it, Belledonne, I think it is. Belledonne, I'll put it down there because my French pronunciation is absolutely awful. Jumper by Along avec Anna. Along avec Anna. Oh my goodness, why am I trying to speak French? I was never very good at French in school. I think I failed. Probably failed. In fact, I think I was so bad that they made an exception that I didn't have to do a GCSE in a language because I was so awful. Or was I the first year that you didn't have to do a language GCSE? I think I might have been the first year you didn't have to do a language GCSE. And that's why I didn't do it, actually. Anyway, another tangent. So yeah, this is a super squishy, all over brioche jumper. I'll insert a picture just here of the full picture, or the full image of what it's meant to look like, because at the moment all you can see is I've got a front, a back, and then 2 sleeves. And I've knit up until the short rows are worked, and then I'm not a brioche expert. I've not really knit very much brioche at all, so actually to have got this far without mistake, I'm really pleased with myself. But I know in my head that the next bit I need to do is work out how to put short rows in brioche. And I've just gone, do you know what, that sounds like hard work, I'm not going to do that. Which I will do it. Well, I will actually might not do it if I actually forget and then do the other pattern. But I will certainly look at it again before I decide to forget. But yeah, like I say, I'm not fogging it because I don't like the pattern, or it's rubbish, or I've not enjoyed following it, because that's not true at all. I've literally just had my head turned by another brioche pattern that I think might be better. So this yarn is another hand-dyed yarn from the beautiful, ever so talented Jude of Stranded Dye Works. I can't remember the name, the colourway name, but I don't think it's a regular one that he dyed. Or if it was an older one. I've had this in my stash a little while. And yeah, it's another one that's got really lovely just pops of colour. So yeah, we'll see whether this continues to be a whip or whether I forget and restart with a different pattern. I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to really miss Jude. He was one of my favourite podcasters. I hope he still podcasts a little bit. He's kind of not really said for definite, although he kind of said that he might do if the moment takes him, I think. I don't know, we'll see. Oh, my next whip, which I've gone on about quite a lot as well on social media, is my Revival Jumper by Ankestrick, I think. This I cast on my holidays last September, and I've kind of plugged away on and off for since. Now this is a fluffy one. I don't know if you can see. Oh, there you go. You've got a lovely halo there. This is a hand-dyed yarn again. I do have other yarns other than hand-dyed, but hand-dyed. This is Prestidigitation, I think she called it, from Chromatic Yarns. another really good podcaster. If you haven't seen the Corner of Crafts podcast, it's really, really good. And this jumper is a contiguous construction, which is where it gives the impression, or is, a set-in sleeve design, but done without being set-in sleeve, in the sense that you don't join the sleeves afterwards and seam, because who wants to seam? Come on. You work a shoulder seam from the top as you knit. Can you see that? I can't even see if I'm showing that. There you go. Which creates the shoulders, and then you knit the sleeves. I guess a little bit like you do a raglan, but slightly different. As in, like, the stitches are increased like this as you work down the front. But yeah, it's not quite the same. I explained that so well, didn't I? Look up what a contiguous method is if you don't know what it is. It's really cool and I like it. I'm hoping to design a pattern using this technique at some point. I just haven't quite got as far as doing it yet because it's a little bit scary. So yeah, this currently has one sleeve, but not another. This was a typical point where I got as far. I was quite motivated to finish the body because I was really enjoying the yarns. Oh, I forgot to say, the fluff yarn I've used here is a Rico Kid Mohair silk. So it's, yeah, Rico mixed with chromatic yarns. So yeah, I knit the body really, really quick. I was really, really pleased to get that off the needles because that was a lot of stockinette stitch. And then the next thing I needed to do was pick up the sleeves and the underarm stitches to carry on. And I just put it down and didn't do any more for ages. You know, I just kind of lost steam, couldn't be bothered. Until last week or the week before, and I was like, right, just get that stupid sleeve on the needles. Once it's on the needles, it'll be a really easy just pick up a knit project because you're just going round and round for a sleeve. You can manage that. It's one of those things where you can just pick it up at times where you don't have to think too hard. But the fact that I hadn't picked up the stitches yet was putting me off doing it. But yeah, so I did it, and then lo and behold, I knit a whole sleeve in like a week. Bear in mind, it was only kind of evening knitting, but in the week. So now, I need to do the same with the other one. How long will it be? One sleeve? Or I only have one sleeve? We shall see. The next thing I have to show you, shall we move on a little bit? I've got some handspun. How good is that? I'm really pleased with this. You saw how chunky my last handspun was. And this is not bad. I mean, it's a little bit thick and thin because I'd taken quite a long break from spinning the last lot to spinning this, just because I was working on all the knitting stuff like that. The Over the Ocean adult sample I knit most of, like 3/4 of it in about a week because I wanted to work to Unravel. I managed it, but it was a lot of knitting. So yeah, I basically prioritised the other knitting projects over doing my spinning, and that's mainly because a lot of my knitting projects, as you've seen, have been designs, and this is just a project for me, so I haven't prioritised it, but I'm really pleased with it. It's gone from this, from the Threshing Barn, bubblegum 100% merino. It's gone from that to that. They do that whole thing where, like, podcasters do that thing where you've got to do like thumbnails, haven't they? So maybe that could be my thumbnail. I don't know. I might even know, I don't know what I'm doing. So yeah, I'm really pleased with that. I don't have an awful lot else to say than that because I don't know what it's going to be. Oh, I plied it. I wasn't going to ply it, and then I decided to ply it because actually as I got better at using my wheel again, it got thinner and it got to a point where I don't know what I would have done with it that thin. So I did ply it, and yeah, I'm really pleased with it. That's going to be my motto, isn't it? I'm actually really pleased with this. I'm proud of myself. My next whip to show you, should we go for this one? This has been a long time whip, and this is my crochet whip. This I'm not going to share much because it generally just lives in this bag and I don't take it out. But this, with its ball, is my granny stripe. And look at the size of this. It just keeps on going. It's absolutely enormous. This is going to be, you can see how big it is. It could be a really good scarf, and I think I posted a picture on Instagram of me wearing it as a scarf. This could be a really good scarf, but it's actually going to be a bed blanket for my daughter Pippa. And I'm completely happy with this being a long time project. Mainly because actually when I do pick it up, I really enjoy just crocheting a few rows on it. But I'm not a crocheter, so it is literally a very ad hoc progress thing, this. My dog's whining to go outside. I should probably go let him outside in a minute, shouldn't I? The sun's out, he's very much a sun dog. And I can't even tell you exactly what the yarns are in this, but it's a mixture of kind of just scraps and leftovers and a couple of advent calendars. You can see this initial set here was Lottie Knits 2021 advent calendar, I think. And the same year I had the Siobhan's Crafts 10 gram calendar, which are these ones here. And then there's a few in the middle here that were leftovers. I think those were my Slip Stravaganza leftovers, actually, those ones there, which were also Lottie Knits, which is probably why I put them there. So yeah, that's progress. I've got my ball here. The Lottie Knits advent calendar was a 20 gram, whereas the Siobhan's Crafts was a 10. So I split the Lottie Knits one and made 2 Maginot balls. So the 10 grams of the Lottie Knits went into the first ball, which I've already knit through, and then the other 10 grams I'm going to then fade back through at the end of the blanket when it's the length I want it to be. So there's kind of, although it's going to be scrappy in the middle, there will be some unity of the colours at the front, at the beginning and the end. So that's quite cool. I'm really pleased with that. Here you can see I have a few minis that I plan to put in it. Let's pull some of these out. Somerset Yarns, I think most of these are from, although maybe not all of them. I don't entirely know. I could keep going, there's quite a few in here. And I also have other minis in my sock. Over in the office I've got a big old John Arbon like stash can basically. And that's got all my sock yarn in, and then on top the minis. So I've got more minis over there that I'll probably put into this as well. That's the ones I've got here. And then this really cool one from Cuddle Buns. Is this cool? Yes. Who knows how long this is going to take me? I really don't know. Yeah. Probably years and years. I've got a like an English paper piece sewing, like hand sewn quilt that I've been working on since the year I got married, so 2015. And that's all been made, it's all going to be made out of, I had lots and lots of bunting at my wedding, at the wedding reception, and I'd all hand sewn that for the wedding. And then after the wedding, I cut it all up into these little hexagons to put into this quilt. So it's kind of like a memory quilt. It's going to be really, really beautiful. Maybe if I've got one, I'll put a picture in again. Yeah, I've been working on that, 9 years now. And it's probably going to take me another 9 to finish it. So maybe one day I'll share that properly. Oh. I'm kind of running out of breath really. I've actually talked loads and loads and loads, and this feels really quite normal, which is really strange. I'm gonna let the dog out. There we go. The dog's been let out. The sun will go in and then everyone will come back in again, because that's always what happens. We open the door 50 times a day when it's kind of sunshine and cloudy. So I think my final thing to show you at the moment is actually not that big, and it's all tied up in the rest of the stuff I've got down here. Here we go. This is a new shawl design. Oh, I say a new shawl design. It's my first shawl design. I've not designed a shawl before, so this is a new one on me. And this yarn was very kindly given to me by the lovely folk at John Arbin Textiles. This is their new Harvest Hues base. And I am using it to make what looks like currently a really tiny little shawl. There we go. Working out, well, maybe this will be my thumbnail. Doing that thing that Martin of the Knit 365 blog, one of my favourite blogs, does. Maybe this will be my thumbnail. Who knows? So yeah, the idea with this shawl is that it's going to be an end-to-end shawl with 2 colours, and it starts with this intarsia technique of a lace panel either side. This will grow, and then as there becomes more stitches and the full lace panel for each side is established, then there will be a garter stitch in 2 colours in the middle. And this is a bit of a bizarre construction in the sense that to create the 2 colour garter stitch stripes in the middle section, once you get that far, once that bit becomes established, you work short rows. So you'd work the garter stitch stripe 1 and back, and then you'd work 2 short rows, or 4 short rows actually I think it is, on the lace, before then taking it from one side to the other and then doing the same on the other side. So lace, garter stitch, lace, back. And that's what creates your solid panel colours at the sides and this cool garter stitch section in the middle. This has had several iterations because I spend a lot of time on silly things like this. I've spent a lot of time trying to get the increases with the lace to work so that when I come to decrease the other end, hopefully it's not going to be completely symmetrical, I think, because I think that's going to be almost impossible, but hopefully it'll be kind of negligible how much you can tell. You can see in this one here, I haven't got the garter stitch established yet, but you can see kind of how the lace is going to, although some of these motifs have changed so it doesn't quite look like this, but this is kind of the idea of how it's going to progress. And then the idea is that to amalgamate this bit at the bottom, it's intended to have a knot at the bottom of the shawl, so which then really makes these colours kind of stick together and look really cool. I'm doing a really, really bad job at showing this. I've got some really nice photos of a couple of the other swatches I've done for this, which are input, because I think it will show off what I'm talking about a little bit more than I'm trying to talk to you about, which isn't really making very much sense. So yeah, that's that one. I've also got another, this is these colours, this is another swatch of it. These are another look at how I've played with different motifs to create the lace panels. This again, this isn't what I'm working with this one. I have changed them up again a little bit again, but it's kind of all on the same sort of basis. You can see there that I've added a couple of those slip stitch ones in because I can't resist a slip stitch. So yeah, obviously this is very early days, you can't really get an idea of what I'm talking about with this one, but watch this space, this will keep growing. So yeah, I think I've made an awful lot of mess about me, but I think I've finished talking about the main things that I wanted to talk about today. Shall we move on to some of the patterns that I've seen that I like? We probably need to start with Brioche Jumper that I'm probably might frog my current Brioche Jumper for. So this is a new pattern from Rust Knitwear. It is the Brioche Bliss Sweater. And it's really, really lovely and snuggly. It kind of has, you can either have like a thick neck or a more of a crew neck. I'll probably do the more rounded neck, I think. I'm not entirely sure, but that's probably what I'd do if I knit it. And it has like a brioche panel that goes over the shoulder and then down the sleeves, or is amalgamated then into the sleeves, and then the brioche is kind of just all over, and it's this really big thing. It's got quite a lot of ease, and yeah, I think that would look really nice in my yarns. My only caveat to that is that the yarn weight is slightly different to mine, to what I've got currently, to this. This is a fairly heavy DK. I think it's like a 200, something like 230 meters, but in 115 grams. So they're slightly heavier ball or skeins. So it's a fairly chunky DK. And the pattern is for, well, it says a worsted template, which I kind of thought as being a kind of a heavy DK, but actually if you look at the meterage to the yarns that she uses, it's actually more of what I'd call a sport to DK. Maybe I'm just being really dumb, but I'm not sure if my yarn, well, anyway, I can sort that bit out, that's not the problem. More the problem is whether I've got enough. I'm not quite sure that I will have enough, and to be honest, I probably don't need as much ease as it's got, so maybe I'll size down, particularly with brioche is so squishy and stretchy anyway. Yeah, so that's what I will probably do instead if I don't carry on with the brioche jumper that I'm currently knitting. So that's really cool, go check that pattern out. The other pattern I've seen this week is by my good friend Jackie, the Woolly Badger. She has released in the last week or so the Cynthia Sweater. That was a design that she designed for Knit Now, and has now re-released herself with all her wonderful busty things that she does. So bust darts, extra space, this, that and the other, and she's managed that in all over cables, and it looks really cool. Like, if you want to knit a cable jumper, particularly if you've got boobs that needs good fitting boobs space, yeah, this is the pattern you want to knit. It's really, really cool. I really, really like it. She originally knit it in, I think it was Rowan Felted Tweed for the magazine, but she's redone it. Her version that she's released, she's done in, I can't remember what yarn it is, but it's another DK, sport to DK weight yarn, and it's this really kind of bright emeraldy green, and it's just so pretty. Like, it's really pretty. So yeah, that is probably going to be on my knit list at some point. That's really, really cool. And in fact, I've got some pink yarn actually, or some orange. Actually, it really look really good in the orange. I've got some really nice orange yarn, jumper weight in stash, so maybe that could become that. I quite like, when I buy yarn, I like buying yarn and matching it with a project. There's not, apart from my sock yarn, there's not a huge amount in my stash that's not got a project in mind. But last year there was a moment where I picked up some yarn in sale, kind of jumper quantities that hadn't got patterns associated with it yet, so maybe that's what that needs to be used for, I think. Okay, so the last pattern I'm going to mention today is the Elton Pullover by Hoji Okatelli. This is a pattern that she released in 2023, January 2023 I think it was, which was kind of like a follow-up pattern from the Elton cardigan she did. And very, very simply, this caught my eye because I mentioned earlier that I went to Unravel Festival. I was really very lucky to win my tickets to go. I won 2 tickets, so I took my mum from the Wall Kitchen. The Wall Kitchen were doing a giveaway, and whilst we were there, I splurged out on some yarn from them. I'll insert a picture because I didn't actually bring any yarny acquisitions over with me today, because I haven't actually bought any yarn since Unravel, so it kind of forgotten that I maybe could do a acquisition segment, and I didn't bring any yarn over from the office, and that's where I keep it. So I add a picture of this yarn along with the pattern. So I brought 2 skeins of merino silk 4-ply and 2 skeins of, I think it's a mohair silk. It's a fluff, but I don't think it's suri, I think it's mohair. I'll double check. And yeah, they're hilariously bright and garish, and I absolutely love them. And when I got back from Unravel, I searched and searched for patterns that I could use this yarn for. Originally when I was there, I thought that I'd make another love note. The reason I need another love note is because when I knit mine, I absolutely loved mine, but it didn't really fit me very well. It was a little bit, was it small? I don't know, I just didn't love the fit. Like, I got this, it was a little bit more cropped than I'd like, and also I got this thing with it, look, I get with a lot of circular yokes, that I don't have big boobs particularly, but I still get the whole, they kind of hang on me funny, and yeah, it was doing a bit of that, and I wasn't overly happy with it, so I gave it away. But I always intended to knit another one, so that's what I originally bought this yarn for. But then when I got home, I thought, why do I want to knit another one when it didn't really fit me right? Because I don't really know what unless I do some cool busty things like Jackie would. Maybe I could make it work. Anyway, the reason that I then decided that maybe that wasn't the pattern was because of the way it fit me. So I then searched for other patterns, and the Elton pullover came up. And it's one of those patterns where it's a bit like the boxy. If you remember Hoji's boxy pattern that was and still is really, really popular, it's a bit like that. But in this pattern, she uses the 4-ply and then creates stripes with the lace weight, and it's just really quite cool. And I like the kind of drop shoulder fit. I really enjoy wearing my boxy, and it's kind of got a very similar vibe to that. So yeah, that's probably going to be on my knit list for soon as well, I think. So yeah, that's kind of me wrapping this up now, I think. I have talked for an inordinate amount of time. I've done it in a few clips because I have. And I don't know how entirely long it's going to be, but it's probably going to be fairly long. So thank you for sticking around if you're still here. I would do kind of a in my personal life bit, but I haven't actually got an awful lot to say at the moment. I design knitwear most of the time. I don't go out that much. I knit. I knit, and when I'm not knitting, I'm spinning, and when I'm not spinning, I'm asleep because my kids are finally letting me sleep all the way through the night. No, that's not true. He was up again last night. I said that earlier, didn't I? I'll probably cut this bit out because now I'm talking rubbish. After all, often thinking, oh my gosh, I can't speak for that amount of time. I don't know what I'm going to say. I'm going to be all over the place. I probably still have already been all over the place, but I've actually managed to talk for an awfully long time. I need to go pick up my kids from school in a minute. With the nights pulling out a bit more, they've spent quite a long time in the evenings after school playing outside, which is great. They love the outside, and I love them playing outside, but as I mentioned earlier, it's very wet here. And even when it's not raining, like, it's so wet that our garden's still kind of swimming in water, even though it's not rained for maybe, well, to be fair, probably 24 hours, not that long. But yeah, it's very wet, which means they're going to come in very dirty. Yeah. Anyway, thank you for sticking around. If you enjoyed this episode, then please subscribe. I can't promise there's going to be another one, or if there is going to be another one, how long it's going to be. But yeah, I have got more things to talk about. I wanted to do a segment about patterns that I've got in mind that I want to design in the future. But I've already talked for so long, and like I said, I need to go get my kids, so I should probably stop here now and also give myself some more content for the future. So yeah, subscribe and stick around for that if you'd like to. Very much share with your friends if you've enjoyed watching me rub it on. And yeah, hope you have a wonderful week full of crafts and lovely yarny things, and I will catch up with you soon. Bye bye.